We move now to the escalating tensions with Iran. The White House is warning Tehran not to shut down the Strait of Hormuz, an action that would disrupt the flow of oil from the Persian Gulf potentially. But Iran doesn't appear to be listening. National security correspondent David Martin reports.
New video shows speedboats from the Iranian Revolutionary Guard harassing a U.S. warship in the Strait of Hormuz. The kind of naval hot-dogging which U.S. officials say is almost routine. On this day, 1 week ago, the Iranian boats closed to within 500 yards, ignoring whistle and voice signals asking their intentions. In a second video, more speedboats come up behind a U.S. Coast Guard cutter inside the Persian Gulf. U.S. officials call it posturing and say it's happened many times before. But a Pentagon official says it got our attention because of Iran's public threat to close the Strait of Hormuz and choke off the 15 million barrels of oil which pass through there each day. By some estimates, that would double the price of oil, and Defense Secretary Panetta says the U.S. won't let it happen.
We cannot tolerate Iran blocking the Straits of Hormuz. And that's a red line.
Most officials do not believe Iran would take such drastic action, since it would cripple its own oil exports and alienate every country which depends on Middle East oil. Still, the Iranians made the threat in the midst of naval exercises which showcased the weapons it would use to close the strait. As one Pentagon official put it, everything they're saying matches what they're doing. David Martin, CBS News, the Pentagon.
This week, the U.S. made it clear it will not allow Iran to block the Strait of Hormuz as it has threatened. That strait is a crucial shipping lane, as David mentioned, where 1/5 of the world's oil supply is exported every day. U.S. military officials say they could take action to reopen that strait. For some perspective on the escalating tensions, we're going to move to Brigadier General Mark Kimmett in our Washington bureau this morning. General, good morning to you.
Good morning.
What is the U.S.'s response militarily if Iran closes the strait?
Well, the United States and its coalition allies possess a significant capability to reopen the straits. Mine countermeasure systems are probably already in place, and while the strait could be closed for some period of time, there's no doubt that it could be reopened in a matter of days or weeks.
How costly would those actions be to both sides?
Well, that's the right question to ask. It would certainly be costly on both sides. If this turned into a localized conflict or even worse, there would be costs on both sides to American ships, to American personnel.
General, is this just Iran saber rattling some more?
It could be, but I think the real danger is not a calculated decision on the part of Iran to provoke a conflict, but a miscalculation or a mistake, as we saw with that hot dogging last week, that could escalate into something that nobody intended.
General, also want to ask you about Iran's nuclear ambitions. They're now saying they're going to let back in IAEA inspectors. A stall tactic?
Probably so. Iran imported a lot of missile technology from North Korea. I suspect they also imported the playbook for how to play the international community while they continued to develop a nuclear capability.
Which is exactly what North Korea did. In your opinion, you think it's inevitable that Iran gets a nuclear weapon?
I think at this point, the rhetoric that's being stated internationally, we will not permit the Iranians to have a nuclear weapon, hasn't slowed down the nuclear development on their part. And there could very well be a day when we wake up and the Iranians proclaim they have that capability.
So what's the strategy then to plan for the day they do have it then?
Well, I think we've got to think on both sides of that day. We've got to do everything in our power to ensure that the Iranians can't develop a nuclear capability. But if they do, we've got to be as equally intent on having a policy for what happens when they do announce it. And there are many historical precedents for how to handle a situation such as that.
Brigadier General Mark Kimmett, appreciate your time. Thank you very much.
No, thank you.